Welcome to all the beloveds of God. We're gathering once again for devotions, this time on Tuesday, August 17th. As we spoke about yesterday, we are looking towards this Sunday. And our question this time is about, what do you need? And sometimes as we do that as people of faith, it's also expanding our understanding to what do others need. And part of that means that, what do I need to feel as if I'm seen and heard? And then, of course, what do others need to be seen and heard? And what do I need to be whole? And of course, as we are willing to be honest about that and share that with one another, it opens us up to being aware of what do other people need. So today we're picking up a passage from what's called one of the minor prophets. Not that their influence was minor, but what we have of the work that they did is shorter than some of the other writings that we find in the Hebrew Bible. So I want to share these words with you from Amos in just a moment. And we're going to be looking a little bit at, okay, so where is God in this? When we're asking the question of one another, what do you need? When we're sharing honestly of what do I need, as it opens us up, what does everyone need? I am Heather E. Clausen, pastor of Herman United Methodist Church in Herman, Minnesota. These words come from Amos 5. I despise your festivals, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me your burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. And the offerings of well-being of your fatted animals, I will not look upon. Take away from me the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the melody of your harps. But let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Word of God, word of life, thanks be to God. So, what would that be like as you're worshiping? To hear those words from a prophet of God. How would your congregation, my congregation, feel hearing these words? Well, if you read the context in Amos, can be a little bit scary. And here, God turning God's back on worship, not wanting to see the sacrifices of that time, not wanting to hear the music, turning aside from that worship, ignoring these acts of worship. How would you feel? How would you feel about that? Now you may have a sense of how the people heard these words of Amos, as we now hear these words of Amos. But it is a picture, a powerful picture, to answer the question about what do I need, what do you need, and what do they need? So what we're seeing in this, obviously, these words are supposed to shake you out of complacency and get your attention. And there are several things that are communicated in these words. One is, you cannot take God's love, care, comfort for granted. It is a recognition of the power of God, but it is also a recognition that the people might be missing the agenda of God. Now, Amos has their attention, and Amos has our attention. And our reading today ends with this justice and righteousness. It is a call to enact justice. That should be what pours out of genuine worship of God. And these concepts of justice and righteousness are important together. Because what does justice refer to? Justice refers to fairness, attention to the needs of the poor, the marginalized, an end to oppression, and a legal system that protects the rights of all people. And righteousness, what does that involve? Well, that involves healthy relationships, a sense of our commonality, our community, a recognition that it is God that forms people into community, and a respect for those bonds. So when this image, and isn't that powerful, but let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. That's a powerful image, isn't it? It has the power because it's asking for justice to happen immediately, not put off, not wait till another time, but this urgency of a storm. And the ever-flowing stream, of course, when you say ever-flowing, doesn't that say to you that that justice needs to be continuous? It's not a once only, not a one action, but it is a call to community to sustain justice. So Amos, as I said, gets their attention and gets our attention. Why would it be that God would turn aside from times of worship? Our times individually, our times together corporately, why would God turn aside? Well, when it's empty. When it's a to-do, just a check. Okay, I went to church. I did my devotions. That's it. Well, what Amos is saying in these words given to Amos by God is not enough. Worship is developing that relationship. Worship is acknowledging who God is and that we are not. And worship is arming and preparing ourselves to do the work that God calls us to do. So what Amos is saying is your worship is empty if it doesn't result in the actions that God intends. If it doesn't bring about a steady stream of righteousness, if it doesn't bring about a steady stream of justice, then basically what Amos is saying is it's just ritual. It's empty. God, of course, it's important to worship. It's important to honor and realize that difference, that it is God that gives all. But then that worship has to result in an understanding that what we have been given is to be shared, be used to bring about justice for all. And right relationships, good community relationships, supportive relationships that don't exclude or judge or harm. And it's almost as if there's this communication of hurt. But I hear the anger, don't you? Disappointment, maybe. Sometimes we can get pretty angry when we're disappointed. But that how we continue to treat those who are poor, marginalized, whatever it is, life's victims, And we can't dismiss that they are harsh words. But what we need to hear in that is God's compassion for those who struggle, for those who don't have access to what they need. The compassion says, let's answer that question. What do I need? Life, love, stability, food, shelter, friends, family. Okay, if that's what we need, shouldn't we understand that that's what everyone needs? And so, yeah, you kind of feel like Amos takes hold of your shoulders and shakes a little bit. But it's a reminder. And the big catchphrase when I worked with youth many, many years ago was, it's a 24/7 life. Faith should be, is meant to be part of everything. Every part of our lives. Not just chosen moments or even an hour on Sunday, but so it is the life and breath and animation of every moment of our lives. Then our worship of God will be full, because we will be doing what it is God intends us to do. And this answering prayer, think about the Lord's Prayer. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So it's God's will that we care for one another. And of course, part of that is to ask the questions, to listen, to pay attention. Because what I hear in this is sadness, grief. Kind of like when Jesus sat looking down in Jerusalem and was so heartbroken. It is sadness and grief when people are hurting. It is sadness and grief when we know that there is abundance in our world and yet it's not equally shared in any way. It doesn't trickle down. It has to be an action. It has to be conscious. And so in this passage, it's just telling us worship and life need to be one piece. Not separated, not compartmentalized, but the 24/7 of faith. What do you need? You need to be heard, don't you? You need to have your story validated. You need the basic things of life to be available. What does someone else need? The exact same thing. Go in peace. Amen.